My name's Tyler VanScyoc. I'm 19 years old. I work for a drilling company in the DMV area, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. Outside of work, I pretty much just go to the gym, go back home, go to eat and sleep. It's work and gym for me. Well, I started working out around the age of 12 or 13, so like really young. And since then, it's been like off and on throughout the years. But the last 2 years, I've been pretty consistent, and it's basically my therapy. It keeps me centered. It keeps me whole. It's what makes me happy. I mean, when I'm at the gym, I feel like I'm at home. I feel like I'm at peace. My mind's at peace at the gym. And then also, I originally started like working out with my stepdad too. And I think one part of that, maybe I wasn't necessarily thinking of it, but just something that made me stronger. And that place where you feel so weak, I think that was a lot of it. And then also I would say my relationship to the gym, you could probably say is maybe a little bit unhealthy. It's like an addiction almost. Like if I don't go for a few days, like I start to get all scratchy, and I don't feel like myself. And like my happiness sometimes depends on if I lift a heavier weight or not. But I'm trying to make it more of a healthy thing. But it's definitely a big coping mechanism for me. So I grew up with my mom and my older sister, Michaela, in Inwood, West Virginia. We were pretty poor. It was just us in a little townhouse. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and we were very happy with just that. I played football growing up. My sister was a cheerleader, so she cheered for my team. It worked out perfectly. I really don't know. Other than that, it wasn't anything interesting. I think it's just like anybody else's childhood. You know, you play games, watch TV. So my dad, he's in the picture, and he was in the picture at the time, but him and my mom were split. So I didn't see my dad quite as frequently as most kids might, and usually throughout the weeks I was with my mom, and then every other weekend I was with her, and then on that other weekend I was with my dad. So I saw him 2 days every 14 days, 4 days every month. So like we didn't have the closest connection. But when Justin, my stepdad, came in the picture, it felt like I finally had that dad that would be there every day. So the first time I had met him, he came over to our townhouse, and it was like a date for him and my mom, but more of a, okay, it's time to meet the kids. We went on a few dates. It's getting serious. And he walked in. The hopes initially weren't too high because my mom's had her fair share of bad dates and boyfriends, but he was one of the first to come in and like actually give me attention and seem like he cared about me, and it made him stand out. And it made me very quickly grow a connection with him as well. I mean, the first time he came over, you think he'd be hanging out with my mom, his new girlfriend, the whole time, but he played football with me for like 2, 3 hours. Hardly even like acknowledged my mom while we were doing that. So I could tell he's really focused on me and cared about what I cared about. He was a young soul. He was very into the video games and stuff and football and all that, which just matched perfectly with me as a kid, so that helped our bond. Really, when it comes down to the abuse, I mean, he didn't really like ease into it. He just got right to it. So there wasn't really any spark. It was like a one day he was this guy, the next day he was that guy. So it started off with drinking. So we started drinking one night when my mom left me with him while we were just drinking and watching TV, Four Locos and cinnamon moonshine, which a 9-year-old should definitely not be having. I just remember drinking pretty much all night. At one point, I don't remember it. And then I remember waking up in the morning and we were both naked under the blanket. I was just confused. I feel like I was too young to even comprehend anything negative or what could have possibly happened. I was just confused, especially like I've never drank before, so to me it's like I just teleported when I blacked out. Like I didn't know I blacked out. Really think about it again until something happened after that. The next time something happened was, I think, 3 months later or so. It was his graduation in Kentucky. He was graduating from med school, and me, him, my mom, and my sister all got a hotel room, and my sister didn't want to sleep with me for some reason, and my mom was like, you're not going to sleep with my new boyfriend, that's weird. So my sister and my mom slept in one bed together, and then I slept in the other bed with him. And I remember just waking up to him having his hand in my pants, and he was masturbating me. It's like your body's just paralyzed. I was stuck in motion. There was nothing I could do as much as I wanted to. It's almost like a sleep paralysis when your mind's awake but your body can't move. Yeah, alcohol did play a role. And with how I said in the abuse in the beginning years, it was a little slower and there was more time in between instances. It was the same with that, with the alcohol. It started off kind of slow here and there, maybe every few months. And then around the time I was like 13, it was probably like at least every other week, more sometimes. Sometimes like 2, 3 times a week if we had like a big family party that week or something. So he used alcohol to, I would say, almost gain my trust more. So I don't even know if it was just let's put him in a trance, let's knock him out. Yeah, basically the alcohol was our secret. I mean, once I got older, like 15, 16, if we had a family party, I mean, like the rest of the family would see me steal a drink, but that's typical of a teenager. They didn't think it was as far as it was. They didn't realize the extent of the drinking. But yeah, it was definitely like a secret between us, and we'd wait till late at night. Everybody went to sleep. We'd tell everyone we were gonna go have like a gaming night, and instead we'd just like drink and watch football, or like go shotgun in the garage. Really, as far as like the grooming, like I said, he really like kind of kept it hush hush throughout the day. He was more of a direct abuser. I mean, if nobody was home throughout the day, he would like smack my butt if I was running up the stairs, or like poke his finger like up my ass if I was going up the stairs, or like he would just randomly grab me. But other than that, not really. I mean, he would like watch me shower sometimes, which looking back now, it was definitely a little weird. I don't I don't know if that fall under the category of grooming though. I think that's just weird. He would rub my feet a lot, very frequently, like nightly at a certain point. It was like a nightly ritual almost. He was very good at manipulation to the point where I didn't even see it, and I thought those foot rubs were just my stepfather loving on me, try to give me innocent pleasure, but that's not what it was. It was just leading up to the harmful pleasure he would later do to me. But he had this parenting app on my phone, because when him and my mom first got together, he would monitor my phone, and he definitely used that to pull strings on me as well. And then I felt like from there on I couldn't even use my phone, and like he was watching every little aspect of my life. And then I'm also a straight man, so around the age of 13, 14, you want to start talking to girls. So I would try to start talking to girls, and he made that like damn near impossible. I mean, I remember one time, this was one of the first girls like I started talking to, one of my first girlfriends. I think 13 at the time. So we were a little young to be talking anything sexual, but I remember she asked me for nudes and I said no. He comes to me later, super mad, like I did something wrong. And like anytime she would say something around those lines, like I could just tell he was frustrated with me. You could like see the jealousy in him over it. And then from there on, it was just problem after problem with any girl I tried to talk to. I mean, I remember in 8th grade, I was trying to go out to the movies with this one girl who I'd been talking to for like 2 months or so. And like every time there was always some excuse from him why I couldn't do it. Oh, we got to do this. And I was like, that's not important. No, the family needs you there. We got to do this. You can't go. So the next week I'd ask and just be another excuse. And I got to the point where I just gave up on girls. Be around the time I start getting like deeper into puberty and I start developing those hormones and feelings for women and having my own sexual attraction. And I just started to really hate what he did to me and really feel disgusted. Say he would act as if he was trying to take care of me. And he would, for some reason, talk to me about how bad porn was for my brain and how I can't watch stuff like that at a young age. But on my 13th birthday, my birthday gift was that Pornhub was unblocked and I was now allowed to watch porn. And that was like, I guess you could say, our other little secret. And he would almost encourage me to watch it. And I'm sure detectives going through my old phone can see he was usually pretty secretive about like what he did, and he didn't really make it obvious, but like if you could see through our text, that he made it kind of obvious, and he would talk about it and be like, if I told him I was stressed, he'd be like, hey buddy, why don't you just go to the bathroom and, jerk off, relieve some stress, like stuff like that. There, he would encourage me to jerk off if I was stressed out. And then I remember like there being a few nights where he would like try to come into my room to do whatever he was going to do, and he would catch me jerking off, because I would say it definitely made me develop a bit of a porn addiction at the time. And so he would come into my room and he'd catch me jerking off, and I would like freak out and stop and tell him to get out of my room. And he'd be like, okay, I'll leave. But then he'd tell me, he'd be like, make sure you finish that up though. You don't want blue balls, that's bad for him. You'll be in a lot of pain if you don't finish. As a kid, I didn't see the problem with porn. You're a young kid, you see that, you get excited, you have all those feelings. So I listened to him, and I got to a point where I developed, I would say, quite a porn addiction. I'd do it multiple times a day, every day, and he would encourage me to just keep doing it. And looking back now, it's probably because he was sitting there watching, because I found out now he had a camera in the bathroom, and he could look at every little thing I did on my phone. And I just fell for it all, because a young kid cannot see all that stuff. A young kid's mind is not developed enough to put all these puzzle pieces together and figure out this big problem. I wouldn't say that the abuse changed as a result of like me fighting back and wanting to go talk to women and him like getting jealous. I would just say he got more comfortable and more comfortable over the years, and I never really fought back. I was kind of always in my flight mode of being paralyzed with fear. So I feel like after he just kept getting away with this, he would go on to that, and then yeah, it eventually just got more intense, and it went from just like touching and masturbating to oral, and then from there it went to penetration, and then from there it went to more like, but he just got more angry with me and more intense. My plan was to like go my whole life not tell anyone anything. Like I said, I knew something was off. I could tell something felt weird, but I didn't have that like concrete evidence of an adult saying, hey, if this happens to you, you come to me and you say something. So I mean, I just didn't. I felt weird. I don't know. It's just one of those things you don't want to tell anybody. It's something you just keep to yourself. Oh, mommy's never told me that this is something that could happen. I'm just keep it to myself. Yeah, I feel like when we're talking about like perpetrators and abusers and just pedophiles in general, or anything around those lines, I feel like a lot of time parents don't make it a point to talk to their kids about the fact that it can be someone you trust and love. It can be that trusted adult. It can be Uncle Ronnie. It can be stepdad Justin. It can be your best friend. It can be your cousin. It can be anybody. It can be that doctor that saved your life. It can be anybody. I mean, he had plenty of patients that thought he walked on water, and after it came out, even their life was affected. I mean, he affected endless lives just with this one act on me. And I feel like it's very important that people keep their guard up even around those trusted people like doctors, police officers, and sadly even your mom and dad. I mean, it sucks that that's how it is, but I learned firsthand that even your dad could do something like that to you. Yeah, as a kid, I didn't quite notice a lot of his grooming tactics, and I still feel like some of them I'm still figuring out and realizing were grooming tactics. I have plenty of reasons, and I'll just touch on one first because I feel like this is really important to me, and I never talked about it in the podcast or Hulu. And it's actually something that up until recently I've still struggled with a lot, but I want to be open and I want everyone to hear the struggles. But just like one part that really got me and made me not want to say anything was not being comfortable in my own sexuality. As in, like, when everything first started, I felt uncomfortable. I knew something was off, and I can tell I have an attraction to women. I know I'm straight. You get to a point where that's your life and you're conditioned to do it. You get to a point where you almost kind of look forward to certain parts, not everything. and I was kind of taught that that's how I show him I love him. So it was really a lot of just feeling like I can't tell somebody that he did this to me when I'm letting it happen and I'm okay with it. And now after years of this, I kind of like certain parts. I mean, I can't come out. I'm the bad one here. I let this happen. I must be gay. And for many, many years I've thought I've been at least bisexual, but really don't think that's the case at this point. I feel like I was trained. I feel like he was trying to train me to be gay, basically. He was trying to make me what he wanted me to be. And I feel like that definitely did have an effect on me. And I can't admit that I had gay tendencies and things that I did that you would say probably only a gay man would do. I mean, I had my times where I got curious and I watched gay porn and I climaxed to do it. And I had my moments where I could look at a man and think they look good and have feelings. And it was really weird because it was never like you just feel that way and you know it. It was like there was some like middle feeling in between, like this isn't me. Why do I think this? So like I just struggled so much thinking I was gay, and not that anything's wrong with that, but when you're not, it's just really confusing. But there's certain parts that you can find enjoyment out of, and there's parts that are not so unhappy, and you know you still love and care about that person. And I was so young. I mean, I was basically taught that sex is love. Like I said, I didn't really feel depressed or sad going through anything in those years, but I think I had some of those feelings like brewing up in me that I just didn't realize. Like I had really bad anxiety and I wasn't even aware of it at the time. I just know that now, knowing what I know now that I'm grown. But I would wake up before school or like before a wrestling match or a hockey game or whatever I had to do, anything that required a little bit of thought or effort. I just wake up and puke because I was so like nervous about every little thing. When something happens to you like every day, every other day, that's just your life. It becomes your homeostasis, your normal. I mean, there was nothing out of the ordinary for him to come in my room and do whatever he did. I mean, sure, initially it felt awkward, it felt weird, and then as I got older and knew more, I clearly knew it was wrong. But when you've been doing this every day for years and years, you don't think anything of it. I mean, I don't think it really affected me mentally when I was going through it. I didn't really feel like depressed or anything. I didn't think about it and be like, man, this is ruining my life. I mean, it was just part of my life. I didn't think about it at all. I didn't think about, oh, he's abusing me. Oh, he's doing this to me. I mean, this is just my life. It's just what I did. This is what me and my dad do together. I felt like as soon as I had come out and really put to terms what had happened and started talking with police and therapists and all that, I feel like everything really just kind of hit me like a wave. All that stuff I'd been pushing down for years. Like, I really feel like most of my mental struggles just like came on the day I came out almost. I don't know. It was like I was masking them for all those years and didn't even realize I had them. It felt like it was the end of the world to me. It was like I was standing on a stage in front of thousands of people. Everyone was looking at me, even though it was like a few family members in the room. But that's just how it felt. I started to experience like extreme anxiety, and that morning puking I would have like here and there before school or before big events would turn into like a multiple times a day thing. And it just always felt like there was a weight on my chest. It felt like I could feel my blood grow thicker. I feel like it was hard to breathe for like 2 years. I mean, I feel like I couldn't even think straight. I felt like I was going insane, like someone in solitary confinement. It was like no matter what I did, everything just kept getting worse and worse. And then, you know, I'd get to a point where I'd just bask in it and lay in bed all day, and then that would make it worse. And it was just a really bad spiral for like a good year and a half. About a year or so after coming out, I eventually went into a hospital. Yeah. So I went into a mental health treatment center because I had tried to kill myself. I was having a really bad day. I woke up feeling super anxious. I puked like I normally would in the morning before I get up and go on about my day. But I think I had a panic attack that day, and I didn't really know what that was. But I remember being in school, I was getting ready to go to gym class, and it's not like anything was even going on. I think it was just a buildup of things, and it kind of hit me. But all of a sudden, like I start breathing heavy, and my chest is going crazy and whatnot, and I felt like my arms were getting numb. Like, so I had to go sit down and take a breather in the locker room for like 20 minutes, and then it got like a little bit better, not much. And then from there, I just kept going on about my day, and it just persisted. I get home from school at like 3:30 or 4 at that time. I got home and I was still feeling all those feelings. And I didn't know what to do to stop it, and I just wanted it to end. So I was like, you know what, I got to put this to an end. Um, so I went to my room and I grabbed this big tub of pre-workout I had, because another thing was I didn't like want to be the kid that killed myself. So I thought I was gonna just like take a bunch of caffeine and make it look like a heart attack. So I just took the container of pre-workout and just started pouring as many scoops in my mouth as I could and throwing back water, and I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And then I've learned now how bad caffeine can make your anxiety. And that made it way, way worse. Like 30 minutes later, I genuinely felt like my brain was going to explode. So I'd called my sister and I was like, look, if you don't get somebody here in the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm about to go take every pill in that medicine cabinet. So she called an ambulance, and then they took me to the hospital, and from there I got admitted to a mental health institute or treatment center. I mean, I had a lot of thoughts of suicide before too. It wasn't just the anxiety. I mean, I was very depressed. I say I probably wanted to kill myself at least like every other day, certain periods every day. I mean, I just wasn't happy in my own body. I would say I think I have a bit of an addictive personality, and I think it could be due to the trauma. I mean, I'm a big smoker and vapor, which I don't like. It's a terrible habit I'm trying to kick. But with the drinking, which I had lots of when I was younger because of him, I think that kind of flooded into my life after. And I had periods of like a month or two or three where I was like drinking pretty heavily or drinking every day or every night. And then I've had moments where I'm smoking weed 24/7. I've made a promise to myself never to go farther than those two things, though, because I know my personality and I'm not doing that. And the reason I got to fight myself not to, I think, is because of him. And I think the reason I can smoke all day, every day, and just chain smoke my problems away, I think it's because of him. Yeah, so I feel like I kind of had stages with my emotions. I feel like I had that confusion throughout the years of abuse. I had come out and told my story, and then I had like a depression phase, and then I feel like that depression slowly started to like fade into an anger, and it went from being sad and crying all the time to throwing stuff and punching stuff all the time. And even while I was still with him, um, in that last year of the abuse, like I started to really hate him. And I feel like I don't know, I just started to really understand what was going on, or there was just a lot of resentment there. But I started to really hate him, even though all those years before I loved him and didn't really think anything of it. But I got to a point where like I wanted to kill him, and I thought about it like plenty of times, pretty seriously too, not just like, oh, I'm gonna kill this guy, like thinking about like how I'm gonna do it. I feel like the experience at the treatment center was very beneficial for me. You could probably hear from a lot of other kids my age that it wasn't quite beneficial and that it didn't do good for them, and that's kind of what I got from a lot of the kids in there. But I went in there and I just saw hundreds of other kids just like me who were broken and depressed and suicidal, and I was like, man, this isn't what I want for myself. And I think I learned in there that like you just got to want it more than anything. I feel like happiness is more of a choice than we realize. And I could see in there that those kids weren't choosing to be happy. And from there, I kind of took my week there and ran with it. And I really like went in with therapy, I really dove deep into it. I was fully accepting of everything, unlike many of the other kids there. And after that long week there, it was a nice relaxing week at the time to get away from life and all the things stressful I had and learn some things about myself. But at the end of it, I promised myself I'd never go on one of those again, because the amount of kids my age who had told me they'd been in and out of them for months, or there was this one kid who told me he'd been like institutionalized like 20 times. And he was talking to me about how after like your fifth time, they make you stay for like 6 months. And then like after so many times, they'll make you stay for a year. And I was like, dude, I can't go through all this. I want to live my life. I want to have a good life. I want to have a family one day. I want to have a good job. I'm not going to do this to myself. So I think that's when I like actually started working on myself. I don't feel like I understand how evil he was to the full extent he was, but I don't really think anyone understands the full extent of his evilness. I feel like maybe if I wasn't manipulated by the love of a father, that I would understand it a little bit more. I mean, knowing what I know now, it's very clear to me that he is an awful, evil man, and he should not be trusted in society. He's not safe to be in society. Um, I don't know. I feel like his evilness is too great to even understand or comprehend. I am constantly thinking about like, and not even in a trying to like find, I don't know how to word this. I'm just constantly like, maybe this is the wrong word, but almost like fascinated with how his brain works. And I feel like I'm constantly trying to like understand, like, did he have some split personality disorder? Because that's a big one I feel like he might have had. Being the one being abused, it was like I could see a switch flip in him. Like he was one person and then he was the next. And then I think, what was his childhood like? What made him this way? Like I'm just constantly thinking about like how big is the monster inside of him? What really is in there? Because you can't trust a word he says. Even to this day, he'll act like he's found God and he'll admit some of his wrongs, but then you can tell he's still manipulative in other areas. So you can't trust anything. So I definitely have like a little bit of trust issues. I can't say I'm terrible with it. I mean, I've had a pretty good relationship with the same girl for a little over 3 years now, so clearly there's some trust there. But I mean, there's always like a lingering fact, like, oh, is my girlfriend cheating on me? Oh, is this going on? I mean, I definitely have some trust issues. Um, I I feel like I got to experience a little bit more life to see how bad they are, though. I feel like I'm still figuring out a lot. I feel like I've come a long way, but I still got a long way to go. So therapy definitely had a big impact on me, like I said, especially the mental hospital and not necessarily the treatment there itself, but just the being there. And I was lucky enough to find a really good therapist as soon as I got out of the abuse. And when we're talking, it's almost more like talking to a friend, which I think for a therapist is perfect, because there's not that stress there of just talking to some random stranger or a therapist. She really made a point to make it seem like we were just two people talking, two friends talking. Um, and she just always helped me to see things in a different light. Kind of just helped me change my perspective and really helped me get out of the manipulation role he kind of played on me of putting him on a high horse, putting him on a pedestal of, being that good doctor, that good dad. She kind of helped me see the monster in him when I didn't before. And I think that is like one of the most important things for me, because then I don't have to struggle with the feeling of loving him and hating him at the same time. Um, I tried medications for me. Not big on that. I felt like it kind of made me like a robot, but teach their own, may help others. Some people, meds work great. Helps them get through life. If it works for you, great. Not for me. Um, but therapy definitely had an impact. I've just kind of learned through talking to her to not even care what others think. Just I know me better than anyone else does. So as long as I'm happy with me, that's all that matters. Yeah, there's a very, I would say, big difference between what men have to go through with assault and what women have to go through with assault. Both very traumatic for both sides, but I think for men, I don't even know if there is necessarily a set expectation. It's just something that's not there. I don't think there is an expectation. There's nothing to talk about when it comes to the men. I mean, I feel like only just recently we're seeing men come out and talk about this stuff, and we're built on being strong and having big muscles, and you know who's the fastest, who's the strongest. And if you talk, you get made fun of. You're weak. I mean, we see it with your guy-to-guy talk, even if there's not necessarily a big stigma today, which I still think there is. But even if that stigma is not quite as big as it used to be, I think just the way guys act with each other, I feel like it's guys like to like down on each other when they're buddies, and not in like a rude way, just like that's how guys are. We joke with each other, you know. And I think when it comes to that, a lot of men just feel uncomfortable talking about it. So instead, they lead to the jokes and the making fun, and that's just not where we need to go. I don't know. I feel like I keep building on that, but I think there's a good way and a bad way to go about like talking with survivors, and maybe it's different for some people, but I know one problem I had, and this isn't necessarily even with like negative backlash. This is more so with how like your family or your supporters would go about helping you through these things. But I always felt like for a good amount of time, probably a year or two, that like everyone just pitied me. And like when I walked in the room, I felt like everyone just like was like, "Oh, this just happened to Tyler. What can we do to make him happy?" And I just wanted to live our normal life. Not that I didn't want them to be there for me, but like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to say anything. Just listen to me, hug me. Let's do what we do any other day. And if I come to you and ask for something, that's what I need. I didn't like the constantly being pitied, and I felt like I couldn't just have a happy conversation with my mom for the longest time. Every conversation turned into what had happened to me, what had happened to us, and how we're going to navigate the rest of our life, which is important to talk about, but it doesn't need to be every conversation you have.
It's so hard to just exist in the world in the aftermath. It's like you've already gone through all of this experience and you want to be moving and growing and leaving some of it behind, and maybe some of the people around you won't let you, even if their intentions are good.
Yeah. And then with the negative backlash, I mean, I have a TikTok account I post videos on related to my story and trying to spread awareness around men's sexual assault. And most of the feedback I get is pretty positive, and I have a lot of men on there too. My demographic is actually mostly men, which I was surprised about. I thought I would have a lot more women than men, but I want men to be on there, so that's very good. But yeah, I've had a lot of men reach out to me telling me like how much they appreciate me posting, and I have men that like religiously watch my videos and comment on every single one of them, like every single one of them. But there are those stragglers out there. I've had few people say I'm a liar. I've had plenty of people ask me why I didn't say something sooner and say, "Oh, you must be gay. You must have liked it." Just the common words you get from someone who doesn't understand it. I feel like some of those aren't even necessarily rooted in an evil response, just rooted in not understanding. And I think that's where a lot of the negativity comes from, isn't just trying to be maliciously evil or maliciously hurt someone. It's just they simply don't understand it. Because I feel like most people have trauma, whether it's sexual assault related or not. But if you just work at it, you choose to be happy, you find your coping mechanisms, what works for you, what don't, you can come out on the other side a changed man. And maybe, sure, you'll have plenty of these struggles the rest of your life, but you can mitigate them to a level of I don't know, like normalcy to where you can go about life on your day to day and it not affect you so deeply. He was very successful. He was a doctor. He made a lot of money. When I grew up with my mom and my sister, I mean, we were very poor. We didn't have much. My mom struggled a lot. Um, I mean, we'd eat more. I mean, she would eat less so we could eat more. You know, she would look out for us, just stuff like that. And once he came in the picture, I mean, we didn't struggle ever. We had a nice house. We had that in-ground pool I always dreamed of as a little kid that I never thought I'd have. Um, he treated my mom amazingly. My mom had never really had that before. Um, he was a good dad, honestly, to me throughout the days. Um, and it was just hard. It was hard to lose all that. I didn't want to lose all that. I knew if I come out and say something that I would lose all that, and that my mom would lose her husband, my sister would lose her dad, my two younger siblings would lose their biological father. I mean, there was a lot to lose, and I felt like me coming out and taking him out of the picture hurt a lot of other people, not even like just me. And then, like I said, I still loved and cared about him. A lot of people don't realize that that was still my dad, and we had lots of good times. Um, it was mainly everything went down at night. 9 out of 10 times during the day, he was just like any dad would be to any kid. If I needed to go to sports practice, he took me. If I wanted a new game, he bought it. If I wanted to go bowling with my friends, he took me and my friends. I mean, we genuinely did have a really good, close relationship besides the abuse. Just knowing that, like, my brother and sister will never have a dad in their life is very saddening, and I didn't ever want to see that. I mean, I still don't want to see it for them, but I also know they're safer not having him in their life. Um, but I felt like every time I looked at him and then my siblings, like, it was just that thought, and like I could just be sad from looking at him because I'm like, man, I don't want to rip their dad away from them. When things like really changed for not even just me but the whole family and his monster side being brought to light, I had two friends over. This is around the time I was 16. We were still living in Pennsylvania, and they were supposed to stay the night, and we were supposed to go to like a trampoline park later. And they went up to the bathroom to go change in their swim trunks because we were all swimming. And few minutes into them being up there in the bathroom, they come running down and they claim they have some like family emergency and they need to leave and get out. Their aunt's on the way to come pick them up. But like it was really weird because like we were trying to ask like what's going on, and like the one kid said one thing, the one kid said the other, and it was like okay, like it just seemed like they were trying to get out. Um, but that, the day went on, I didn't think anything of it. But later that night, I went ahead and asked like other friends to go bowling with me since they couldn't go do the trampoline park with me now. So me and those friends and my stepdad all went out bowling. He had taken us, and we come back about 11 o'clock or so, and there's a car like parked right next to our house, which is really weird. I mean, it's 11 o'clock. Why is there some random car on with the lights on parked right next to us? But I mean, we just went in the house because it's a nice neighborhood. I mean, we didn't really think anything too bad of it, so we just went in the house. Not even 30 seconds later, we hear some pounding on the door, and it was Child Protective Services coming to ask all of us questions. And apparently, someone had made a report that he was assaulting kids. And the report they gave us was that he was filming me and my friends in the shower. My two friends that were in the bathroom changing and that left abruptly because they had some family emergency. We had come to find out about a few weeks after this meeting with CPS that they had found a camera in our bathroom that was built into a charging block. And so what had happened was the cops ended up raiding our house, like I said, not even weeks after CPS came, and they basically laid out a bunch of pictures of me and all my buddies naked, my sister naked, and was like, yeah, we found a camera in your house. We're under the assumption that it is Justin's hidden camera, and yeah, these things are true. And they asked us all questions. They asked me like, do you feel safe at home? Do you have a bed? Do you eat? Can I see your room? All that stuff. And I was still in, like, I was still hard on the fact of never telling anyone I was going to live my life. So I lied to him. I told him everything was good. Nothing happened. I love my stepdad. Everything's all right. And then they went and talked to my mom and my stepdad and got basically the same things from them. And then they put us all in the same room together after questioning us all separately. And they were like, so there's still an active case. Tyler and Justin cannot be in the same room together, or not, they cannot be in the same house together. So CPS told me I had to leave, but I ended up going and staying at a friend's house for a few days, and from there CPS came there and asked me questions, and still the same stuff and everything. Um, yeah, I guess that was like the big tipping point, was like CPS coming in, and we didn't really know anything concrete at that time, but from there I could tell like my mom was done with him. And then from there, I pretty much was under the assumption that everything was about to fall apart pretty soon. So after the police raid, my mom was like, all right, I got to get Tyler out of here. I don't want my son in this house. I want him as far away from Justin as possible. So my mom shipped me off to Virginia to go live with my aunt until she could figure things out and come down with me. And that was like literally the next day. I mean, cops raided our house. My mom got me out like that. And I remember I was sitting on the couch watching some TV. My buddy had texted me, and he was like, hey man, I've heard a lot about Justin. And I was like, yeah, some things are going on. And he was like, I don't know, man. I've been kind of thinking a lot with all these things that are going around. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, do you remember that one night I came to your room and I told you that like I had this weird dream and everything? And I was like, yeah. And the next message was, I think Justin raped me. And at that time, Justin was not locked up. He still had the parental app on my phone and could see everything. So me, I'm sitting here like, shit. Justin sees this. My buddy knows something happened. I'm in the middle of all this. So I like, I almost kind of had to downplay him just because I knew Justin was watching. I was like, I don't know, man. Well, we got to call and talk about this when we're not busy. I'm not sure. I don't know about that, blah, blah, blah. And then not even a few days later, my aunt had come and talked to me, and she was like, yeah, Justin's probably only going to be getting charged with the camera stuff, and it's only going to be a misdemeanor and whatnot. And I was like, oh, wow, that sucks. And then she was like, yeah, he's going to have full access to the kids and all that, and everything will, just go back to how it was. And from there, my aunt just kept kind of pounding me about stuff, and I was still pretty dead set on not saying anything. But there was something she said to me. I forget what it was, but it just like hit me really hard, and I just started crying. And then from there, I felt like she knew what was up, and I couldn't even lie about it if I wanted to. So from there, I told my aunt. And then from there, we later FaceTimed my mom, and then the next day I went to the sheriff's office and I gave my statements on everything that had happened. Yeah, my aunt had said to me, he's going to have full access to your siblings. Everything's going to go back to how it was because he's only going to be getting a misdemeanor charge for the camera. He's going to get a little slap on the wrist. And she was like, he's going to see your siblings again. And I mean, that hit me hard, and I was like, I don't want that. And I started to tear up a little bit. And then she started talking about my little brother specifically. And she just kept talking about him. And, Ryden's real young too. We got to make sure Ryden's safe. And at that point, with me being through what I had been through, I could tell he targeted boys. So I was like, man, my little brother's the next in line once I'm gone. So I kind of felt like from there I had to say something so it didn't happen to my little brother. One of my biggest feelings around my time of disclosing and wishing I'd did it sooner, like, just relates to my siblings. And this is going to sound awful to say, but I wish I would have said something before they were born and that they were just never born. And it's not that I don't love them and care about them. It's because I do love and care about them. I feel like they've just been brought into a hectic life with no father, and as they grow up and hit the age of asking questions and understanding how the world works, I feel like there's just going to be a lot for them to process. And then there's also that worry that they may have some sort of resentment towards me because I quote unquote took their father away. Well, I just wish I would have done it sooner because, I mean, I feel like it's clear the sooner you do it, the less trauma you got to go through. I mean, we know that. If I'd have said something the first time, it had just been that one-off time some weird man touched me, or I randomly, awkwardly woke up to some man naked next to me. And I mean, sure, probably have messed with me. I still probably have had some trauma from that, but it would be nowhere near the extent I have now. And then again, if I would have said something earlier, my siblings would have been born into the hectic life they've been born into. And then there's also that like thought of like, man, I waited so long, like to the point where my family was comfortable and planted in their place. And, my sister was going off to college now, and she thought she had this like pretty financially well off stepdad to help her, and then not even a few months later she didn't. And then my mom feels like she's found this like husband sent from God that just solved all her problems, and after being not financially safe for years or feeling comfortable in her own home for years, she finally had that. And I feel like if I wouldn't have waited so long, she wouldn't have been as broken. Because another thing is, like, I know my mom. I know she had her guard up for years and years. I feel like I took them away right after she let it down. So I just feel like the longer you wait, the worse for anybody, for any situation.